How we doing, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Wolf, and this is going to be a YouTube exclusive. I currently don't have the stream running because I have been going back and forth on a topic I was asked about recently. One of my subscribers, Neo, who I did a recent live coaching for on Elarian, asked me what it takes to get to high ranks. Now, I could cop out and I could say, oh, well, skill, practice, experience, knowledge, all this sort of shit. But it's kind of been stewing around and bouncing around in my head of a lot of different things. So I am, in fact, a pirate software skinwalker, so I'm going to use Old Reliable, MS Paint, to show you as much as I can about what it takes to get to high ranks in anything whatsoever. Now, this isn't just going to be for Fellowship, this is just going to be my experience, because if you do not know, which you most likely don't because those videos are hidden, I was an ARPG player who has hit multiple high ranks. I have hit 6 on Diablo 3 Barbarian, 8 on Diablo 3 Demon Hunter, 15 on Diablo 3 Wizard, and then in Path of Exile, I was top 500 Marauder, top 300 Deadeye, multiple times over multiple seasons. So I have done this over and over and over and over again when it comes to PvE games. Now, that being said, I am not blowing smoke up my own ass. I'm going to explain why throughout this video and how throughout this video. It's probably going to be a very long one, but this has been bouncing around in my head for a little bit, and I kind of can't get it out. So I want to do it all in one piece, all at the same time, just to kind of explain my thought process on this, and hopefully I can both help the community out and alleviate some toxicity that comes with ranked grinds and gameplay and just community expectations in general. So you'll see over here on the right hand side of my screen, right here, I am the top 348th Helena in the world because these are global leaderboards. This spot also puts me in the top 3,000 Fellowship players in the world. Okay? Now, I did this for fun. Purely for fun because I enjoy pushing rank. Now, do I have a lot of excess skills and practice and things that go into this? Absolutely. I'm not going to be able to give you, 26 years of gaming experience from gaming the moment I came out of the fucking womb. That definitely aids and helps in this. I can't teach you all of these skills, but I can give you the formulations and some of the basic principles that those skills result in and result from. So, that being said, the first thing I want to talk about is the rank system itself. Now, rank in a video game is a bell curve, okay? It goes like this. No matter what game you play, this is what it looks like. And you'll have people down here who think they know everything, which are contender players at the moment, right? And then up here, you have the higher tier players, which I would put myself here. And then up here, you have the top 1%ers, or top 0.1%ers, okay? Which this is like Yoda, method players, etc., and on and on and on and on and on. Now, you'll see that even with the fact I am top 1% and I am this close, we are still this far apart. Because no matter what game you play, in any ranked game, the separation between 1% to 0.1% is such an immeasurable knowledge, time, and experience gap that it is almost as big on its own. Were I to shorten this and expand this gap would be just about as big as this gap. And I know how that sounds, and I know how cope that sounds. But genuinely, at least in the case of Fellowship, for example, the players on this side of the spectrum have so many more hours and experience than me and or you. I asked one of the top 25 Sylvies in the world at the time, when I was here, how many hours they had on Fellowship. I said that I had 30 hours in Next Fest, 30 hours in Open Beta, and I was pushing 90 at the time. They said they had 563, because they had private playtest access over and over and over for every single playtest. People in this category also have that. and or more. Now you add on top of that the fact that was one player. He has a full static team. That full static team totals to about 2,000 hours of collective experience over me sitting in this spot, right? But at the end of the day, this as a whole doesn't really matter. The only part about this that matters is community perception and clout. The best place to actually be is right in here, because down here we now get, and this whole ladder here is what I like to call the social insecurity spectrum. Okay, none of it actually fucking matters whatsoever. However, it is the #1 dictator for information and trickle-down elitism, which is a concept I'll get into later. This affects every single game and every single ladder whatsoever. Okay, because the things known here are considered the word of God and should be applied everywhere backwards. However, when things that we are doing is applied backwards, you do not have the conceptualization and or adaptability to utilize the tactics. So, with trickle-down elitism, what winds up happening is you have to play a contender match months later after game release, like a rank 1 player, when you don't know A, what they're doing, and or B, why it works in the first place. Which is why I hate this whole fucking system. And I know how it sounds being top 350. Oh, you know, the top rank guy, you know, hates the rank system, whatever have you. The rich get richer and all this shit, you know, right? Billionaire says money isn't real, yada, 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 right? I understand how it sounds from your perspective. But I was down here when the game first started. You can go back in some of my YouTube videos to my comment sections and you can see people calling me a contender shitter and not to take my opinion seriously. Now, I am in the top 1% of the game, and they have nothing left to argue about. I am no different of a man from when I was here to when I was here. The only difference is that when I was here, I was considered a no-information shitter, and when I'm here, I'm considered an arrogant tryhard. There is nothing different in me as a man, as a person, as a human being, from when I was here to when I was here. The only thing that has changed is knowledge, experience, and practice. Okay? And with this, I mean, yes, I was confident that I could achieve this when I was here, which is why people were saying you're an overconfident shitter. But now that I'm here, they cannot tell the difference between arrogance and confidence. This is a running problem throughout the world, and you're never going to be able to fix it. Reason I'm telling you this is because this whole thing, if you're trying to, air quotes, get good, or get clout, or rank high, is irrelevant. It doesn't matter, because even Yoda himself will have people telling you, or people telling him, you know, your route is bad, your XYZ is bad, your, you know, whatever the hell it is, when he probably invented XYZ in the first place that they're complaining about. So, if you're trying to avoid complaints, if you're trying to get clout, if you're trying to be better, you will still get the same complaints, the same bullshit, and the same toxicity that you did down here, all the way up here. Being better, it doesn't make you someone who is word of law. It just means now you have something other people want. Down here, you have nothing people want, so they call you bad because they think you're bad. Up here, you now have something people want, so now they call you bad because they are jealous of you. There is no winning. There is no winning on the ladder whatsoever. The difference between 1, 2, 3, and 4 is so minuscule, to the point that you are resetting over and over, at least in Fellowship's case, you are resetting over and over and over, playing for things like crit RNG, proc RNG, like, it gets down to a numbers game at the top of the top, to the point that it's not even fun anymore. You are not having a fun time sitting there resetting for crit RNG on a fucking mob over and over and over and over again. Yeah, okay, maybe you are if you're really at that point and you really love pushing, sure, for sure. But there's a point where the fun part just falls off, right? Which is why, like I say, the best spot to be is right in the middle here. Because right here, everyone's equally garbage. And the thing is, They all know how much they don't know when you're in this spot. When you're here, you don't know what you don't know. So you look at what other people have, and you start to copy them to try to go in. And then you start to go slightly up a little bit, and you get to the top, which is where you have your ego. Right here. This is where the ego comes out. Because here you think you know enough to be here, and you blame your teammates. This is why, oh, I get bad tanks, I get bad healers, I get bad shit, yada 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 yada. That is these players, right? They're at the top of the middle ground who think they can push higher because they, because their team is holding them back. However, now we move on to the next concept. So if I close the, or if I make a, well, should I make a second MS Paint? Can I just draw this over? Ah, perfect. Let's do this way. So now we get to the actual concepts that you need to be able, now that we understand how the rank system works, we now get to the concepts that you need to use. Most importantly, will be adaptability. Adaptability, right here. Now, there are two separate things, or two separate ways that you can reach this point, right here. There's two different ways. You can be greedy, or you can be a team player. Now this, and what works, will vary based on the game you play. For example, in Fellowship, if you're a greedy player, you will wind up in Contender. However, if you're a greedy player in League of Legends, you'll wind up in Challenger. Now, if you're a team player in Fellowship, you'll wind up in Eternal. If you're a team player in League of Legends, you'll wind up hard stuck in Silver. Okay? This is entirely a game-by-game basis that you can apply as it goes, and that goes for rules of the game. For example, in League of Legends, if you can take more resources and you can use the resources well, then being greedy means you can carry games solo, which means you can push your rank up, right? However, playing as a team player in a game like Fellowship, it comes down to things like, my tank needs a damage reduction right now because he's going to take a full tank buster to the face. He's called, he has no cooldowns. I have a damage reduction trinket, but I'm a greedy player and I'm holding it for me, and then my tank dies. You are right where you belong if you decide to play like that. Because Fellowship and or team games in general are things that benefit, of course, team players. However, Fellowship has currently an immeasurably toxic solo queue fanbase. I do not know why this has happened, because in all of the tests of Fellowship I have played, the early Steam Next Fest and the open beta, it was exceptionally positive. Everyone was really happy. We were all learning and progging mechanics and all having a great time. Now you pull one mechanic too slow, you fuck up one time, everybody leaves. Because everyone now thinks they're the best of the best of greedy players. Now, if you think about this bell curve all over again, you can break this down into greedy and team player. To be a greedy top 1% player, you have to be a better greeder than the entire player base. Okay? So, think billionaire, right? We have this ongoing concept and process that people cannot fathom, fucking autistic people and what have you, those of us with the ability to care for other people, of how could you have billions of dollars and not help people with it and keep it all for yourself, right? Those are your greedy DPS players who hold DRs for themselves. You have to be the best of the best of the best greedy DPS player to put yourself in this section. Now, if you decide to be that and or do that, no one is going to play with you. It is a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you are a greedy top-end DPS player, the only people who are going to want to play with you are other greedy players because they cannot get into matches with team players. Because team players do not want to play with greedy players. I, as a tank, do not want to play with DPS who will not take mechanics for me if I fuck up sometimes, or play with healers who will hold their cooldowns for themselves, or play with DPS who will hold DRs for themselves if something goes bad. I want a full team of coordinated team playing players. And when you are playing like this, not only Is it less toxic because we are all people who are able to understand that not everyone is perfect, we all make mistakes, but as I said, it is a self-fulfilling prophecy because greedy players, you see how I have this line in between? Greedy players are not wanted by people in a team playing environment. So what winds up happening is greedy players wind up creating their own teams, which are only filled with other greedy players, because the other greedy players also cannot get team players to join them. So they wind up making their own little toxic little 4-stack, and I would hate to be a greedy tank playing with a greedy set of players. Because you know, as a greedy tank, if you do not play perfectly with greedy DPS, you are not getting Iron Bark, you are not getting cooldowns, you are not getting damage reductions, you are not getting anything whatsoever to save your ass. So you are playing with less resources, and you have to play perfectly, or else if you don't play perfectly, you will be flamed by your own team. It is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Now, I said adaptability is the most important tool that you can have here. And the reason for that is in my team. I'm about to shit-talk one of my teammates, unfortunately. But one of my teammates, one of my hunters, we achieved this with 2 Alarians at my Helena. They just buffed Helena, and they're talking about Alarian being the lowest DPS. Both of my hunters were pulling over 100k across the board. Now, someone in my chat said at one point, why are your hunters doing such low damage? This guy was probably on this part of the spectrum, right? Right over here. Now, well, actually, I'll split this into another section, and I'll come back to this as well. We'll put right here, leadership, which is another way of saying mental fortitude. Leadership / mental. It's another way of saying mental fortitude. So, this guy was probably in this side of the spectrum. Now, I'm a streamer, right? So I'm reading chat, I'm talking about things in chat, what have you, and I'm tanking all mechanics and all of this sort of shit as things go. So I'm multitasking like 7 different things. Whether that makes me good to you or not, it doesn't make a difference to me. Because like I said, whether or not I am no better a man than whoever is sitting behind this screen listening to me rant. Because this number on this side of my fucking screen says 350 compared to you. Okay, I have a high rank on a niche role in a niche video game. That is not my self-worth dictator, and it should not be yours either. Okay, anyone who is in that kind of headspace, it sucks. Now, on top of that, that also then means that your self-worth is dictated by where you are. Meaning, I am stuck in gold in League of Legends. I am 348th in Fellowship. That means that I'm better at PvE games than I am at PvP games. Were I to dictate my personal self-worth off of rank, if I play League of Legends, I hate myself and want to spin on my ceiling fan. Most people generally do if they play League of Legends, but that's besides the point. I'm talking rank specifically. Whereas in Fellowship, I should be the most egotistical god above everybody and above every single human being on the fucking planet because I'm higher than 99% of the population, right? That then breaks down to the only differentiator is place, right? Because at that point, if I play League of Legends and I put myself in the League of Legends space, I'm not as good. Whereas if I play Fellowship, I am the fucking greatest on the planet. If I dictate myself by rank and I main game League of Legends, my self-worth is in the trash can. If I dictate myself by rank and I play Fellowship, I am a god. Do you understand how stupid this concept is? When you decide to attach your self-worth to your rank, all you should do, if you are stuck in a scenario like that, if you do attach your self-worth to your rank, play other games. Quite literally, try every single genre that has a competitive leaderboard to it, and figure out which one you are the best at. You may not be the best at Fellowship, but you may be better at other things. Then you can go and use those things to get higher rank, and go from there. You may not even be the best at the current role in Fellowship you are playing. I started out playing DPS, and I hit 128 on Tariq, which is also top 0.5% Tariq, or top 5% Tariq, sorry, no, bit of a difference there. Top 5% Tariq. So I'm above 95% of DPS players on Tariq. right? Which is fantastic. It's cool. It's great. Love that. But then I switched to tank, and now I'm in the top fucking percent of the game, right? Cool. Turns out I'm a better tank than I am a DPS player. Still enjoy DPS, but that's what it is. On top of that, my team also needed a tank. I am the only Paragon Eternal tank in my guild at the moment, which the guild is in the description, in the Discord, if you want to join. We're accepting everybody. So, I decided to be the one with the leadership and mental to acknowledge I have high-tier good DPS players and high-tier good healers, which means I adapted and I gave up playing DPS, and I said, okay, boys, I'm going to gear a tank all the way up, help me. And then we can keep pushing, because our problem wasn't that we didn't have good players, it was that we had no tank. We had to pug tanks over and over and over. So I decided to, like I said, adapt with my team players who helped me gear my way to the spot I'm at now. So this rank, for as much as I am the rank 348 Helena, my team got me my rank. Without my team, I am nothing. Okay? Which is why, if you are playing greedy, it is I am the best. If you are playing as an actual high-ranked player with a soul, it's we are the best. Okay? Much, much, much different concept. Because you achieve we are the best through team gameplay, leadership, and adaptability, right? Whereas this you achieve through the DPS meter. And the DPS meter doesn't tell you the whole fucking story whatsoever. Because I can cheese a DPS meter at certain spots of a fucking dungeon and certain spots of a pull to put that on the thumbnail. But because people have the mindset that looks like this, they think that the DPS number is what makes you a good player. Right? You see how fickle this fucking system is? Are we starting to put the pieces together? Okay, you'll love to see it. So, now to go back and shit talk one of my DPS. I absolutely adore you. Reason being is it's a perfect showcase for this. One of my hunter players cannot see the orbs on the ground. He just can't fucking do it. For some fucking reason. I don't know what it is, but the Scholar's orbs in Wormheart and the orbs in Cithral's Fall, my guy just can't do it. He is quite literally a top 500 hunter player at the moment, and he just can't do it. Okay? We joke about, you know, oh, hunter mains, whatever, right? But so now, if you're looking at it, if you're looking at what I just told you, with the perspective of this or of this, he's boosted. Okay? I have effectively boosted him. In the eyes of these players, he is a bad player, and he is carried by his team. In reality, what you do is you adapt. As a good leader, you adapt. You have one teammate who cannot do something. If they cannot do it, it will kill the entire team. Okay? These orbs, if they go off, they do enough damage to literally wipe the squad. We get hit by 2 of them, it's over. So, what would a greedy player do? They would kick him out. End of story. They would cut him from the team, they would kick him, and they would find another DPS player. Now, I am not a cunt, so I don't go about doing that route. I am a team player, so what do? I use my markers. I use my Control 1 markers every time an orb spawns, and I mark the orb as it moves every single time. So now my hunter doesn't have to look for the orb, he looks for the marker that I place on top of it. And as a result, he can't see the orb because it's purple on blue. Maybe his eyes are bad, I don't know. But he can see my marker. He can hear my voice in Discord when I say orb, 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 orb. That is adaptability. That is making a call out as a team player with leadership to save everyone's mental. You see what I mean? Now, we don't have voice comms. Okay, there's your argument. I did just tell you to use in-game markers, which is an in-game system you can use in solo queue. If you look at my How to Clear Cithral's Fall with Randoms video, I'm using in-game markers and putting them over top of every single trap and as many orbs as I possibly can, and I am also gassing up my team. You'll see the final point that I want to end off with is the combination between leadership and mental right here. You cannot achieve high ranks if you do not have a coordinated team of players that you enjoy playing with in regards to fellowship and or team games. In regards to that, you then have to help everybody's mental. Because as I said, if my teammate takes an orb, we're fucked, right? I then mentioned the guy in chat who said, why are your hunters doing no damage? Now, to circle back, I as a streamer read that out because I was streaming and, you know, I just looked at chat, read it, went back to the match, and then I went, oh shit, right? Because I basically just read a comment in chat that flamed both of my teammates. So now, my teammates, who are currently, you know, rank 1 players, top 1% players, are now going to have problems because they're going to get in their own head, right? Because some random in chat said, why are your hunters doing no damage? One line in my Twitch chat can brick our key. One line in my Twitch chat from some guy in this angle who is jealous of my team in E+, can brick my keys for top 350. So, what I had to do was lead and keep them out of their own head. Because what winds up happening is immediately they start going into their own head and saying, oh, is my DPS bad? Am I not doing well enough? They are literally the ones theory crafting the hunter builds better than everybody else. They are being told by completely some absolute fucking random they are bad, and they're getting into their own heads about it. You see what I mean? You see how much of a fucking bell curve this is? Is the bell curve starting to make sense now of how you cannot win no matter what? You can quite literally be in the top percentage of players and will still get told you are bad. Do you understand what I mean? And on top of that, you will then get into your own head about it, even though the guy saying something has absolutely no basis in what he is saying, and is saying it just to rage bait you. And as a result, you have to use your leadership and your adaptability skills to now be able to clear your teammate's head. So after I put this video out, because I wanted to do this first, because it's fresh on my mind and ping-ponging around in my fucking head, I'm going to be showcasing all of the videos going all the way up to my 350 clear. You'll hear me saying over and over to my team in certain scenarios when I'm playing seriously and I give a shit, I'm saying, okay, clear comms, lock in, clear comms, lock in, we're gonna, okay, mechanic, clear comms, lock in, right? And so the reason I'm saying stuff like that is because it gets them out of their head. I'm saying, okay, focus up, it doesn't matter. Clear your head, it doesn't matter. I don't give a shit, it doesn't matter. It's not me being an asshole saying I don't give a shit, right? It's me saying, focus on the match at hand. Focus on the game at hand. What people are saying, I don't care about. You shouldn't care about. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. We're doing our best. We're right here, right now, with me. Pay attention. Okay? And so, with leadership skills, I am able to control my teammates' mental by saying, you're doing great. We're all doing great. Stay focused because I'm a team player. A greedy player would have said, yeah, you're right, random chatter, my hunters aren't doing enough DPS, this fucking guy takes an orb, and then kicked him. And then nobody would want to fucking play with this guy, whatsoever. And then this is the same player who says, my solo queue teammates are bad, my fucking tanks are bad, my healers are bad, everybody's bad, I hate it here. When in reality, he's an angry cunt that no one wants to play with. Whereas, if you have adaptability, leadership, and are a team player, in this game in particular, you'll be able to achieve very good things. If you're this guy, go play League of Legends.